How about this point?
Floor is lava.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
This is the Midlife Mischief Club podcast with Jon and Alvin. Today's guest is Drew Diefenbach, premier tennis and pickleball player, head coach and founder of Paragon Pickleball in Concord, California.
Drew, could you tell us a little bit about, who you are, what your background is, and really how you got into pickleball?
Sure, yeah. So I grew up playing tennis my whole life in this area, the East Bay, and basically been a high-level tennis player my whole life. And then started seeing pickleball around 2019. A friend of mine suggested maybe I should get involved in it. And I was kind of like, well, that looks kind of lame to me. Well, when I started learning about it, it hadn't really taken off yet.
Okay.
So it was still kind of like, not as popular here in the Bay Area as it was nationwide, or in other states, I should say. So I happened to get kind of lucky. I ran into a coach by the name of Jordan Briones, who helped co-found Primetime Pickleball. Okay. And basically, he kind of got me started. Jordan really introduced me to the game and taught me all the nuances. I was just like a good athlete coming from tennis that could hit the ball really well, right, in certain ways. But I would say that I was lucky, and he kind of taught me a lot.
And once you were sort of introduced to it and began learning about the game, mm-hmm. Did you become more enamored with it? Did you say, like, wait a minute, there's something here. This is, like, people need to know about this.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about pickleball is how intriguing it is. So you play it a couple of times, and you're kind of intrigued by it. And then for me, what happened was I played a couple like high-level games, and I couldn't figure out like why I was losing, because I'm like, I'm pretty sure I can beat these people, right, but I don't know why I'm missing like dinks, like why am I dinking it in the net and stuff like that? Because coming from tennis, like, I was pretty confident and stuff like that. So anyways, once I started playing these high-level games and losing a little bit, I really wanted to learn more and kind of master the game. So that's me from like a playing side. My business is Paragon Pickleball. So that's what I do for a living is pickleball programming. But I guess that playing side helped me with my coaching side, because then I started to really learn the game and help others get better and stuff like that. Yeah. So.
And for our audience, I met Drew as my teacher here in Lafayette, and he is the go-to guy in this whole wide area. And his classes would sign up so fast, I'd be kicking myself. Oh, I missed the window to get into his class. Right. And because he's actually teaching multiple classes often. Well, how many classes would you teach a day?
Some days I teach like 5 or 6 classes.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And
gotta stay fired up.
Are you seeing the demand kind of growing since you started?
Yeah, I mean, there's still like a lot of new players coming in, and it's just new people all the time. So, and then if players stick around, so those
yep.
new players now become intermediate players, and
yeah.
It's fun because you get to meet a lot of new people. I mean, it's like teaching a beginner class is great because I get to meet new people coming into the game. So.
And that's something. So I've only played pickleball once, and I had a great time. And I'm not a big tennis player, but I was back in Boston, and my brother and his wife are very active tennis players, and my sister-in-law is, I think she plays every single day. She is extremely competitive and loves playing tennis. And I went back there, and she's like, oh, we're doing a pickleball thing. You have to come. Mm-hmm. And she had taken over like 4 courts on a tennis court, invited 20 people, and they all came. They all played. Some of them were longtime players. Some were like me, had just really never played or had only just started. Yeah. And it was a blast. We had a great time. And I mean, it was really fun. And,
Yeah.
you know, I was able to keep up and, you know, and do okay and hit some good shots. And, you know, the racket is a little different than a tennis racket. The ball is different than a tennis ball. The court is different.
Yeah.
But I was able to do all right. And I had a great time. And something about that really did make me feel like I want to do this again. I really had an awesome
The pickup element is almost like this giant cocktail party, because when I showed up in Lafayette, I saw these people just putting their names on a whiteboard, showing up by themselves, leaving whenever they want. And the unstructured part of it, I thought, oh, this is so much kind of lighter than tennis, because you don't have to plan.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to call my one or three other partners to play the scheduled in reserve a court.
You could just show up.
You show up, and then and I would end up staying, like, first I'd think I'd be there for 60 minutes. I'd be there for nearly 3 hours. You know, because it's just it's really addictive. And so, I mean, actually, to digress, I want to ask, since it's been around for nearly 50 years, what it exploded in the last 5 years. Why do you think it's like just the last 5 it exploded, Drew?
Well, I think everyone remembers the pandemic, right?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
The what now?
Yeah, exactly. Social distancing.
Yeah.
When it came to like playing sports, right? So golf, tennis, pickleball, you know. And pickleball was kind of just about to take off before the pandemic, because that's when I got involved with it.
I never thought of this.
And then, so basically what was kind of happening around here was people were looking for stuff to do. They didn't want to just go for like a jog, you know, and then like wear their mask and try to social distance on the trail. If you did that, great, you know, but people really wanted to like do something. And so pickleball was just a kind of a natural social distancing sport. And whether or not you're allowed to be out there or not, everybody, you know, lots of people were playing pickleball.
Sure.
Whether their courts were closed or open, they were out there playing.
This court where we play, community center, it's so jammed, John. Like in a day, how many people do you think play pickleball over there, Drew?
If there's a good community and good courts, there's people playing all day long from morning to night, and people are waiting for those courts to get on. So, yeah, I mean, one of the places where I coach, you know, at the rink in Lafayette, people are there all day long, you know, and it's great, you know, it's not boring.
No, and a lot of times these, you know, like tennis and some other sports, they can be kind of intimidating.
Yeah.
You know, you got to be pretty good at tennis to get out there and
Take on other people.
Yeah, exactly. And it seems like with pickleball, there's always some beginners there. There's always like different levels of players.
Yeah, I took a friend out who actually would beat me the first day I took him out. He had never played pickleball.
Wow.
To your point, you know.
But
yeah,
it seems like there is this whole kind of social aspect of it. It's not just competition. Like you got to get out there and you got to kill your opponent. It seems like there is more of a community, and the social aspect of it is very positive and encouraging. Yeah. Everyone, like when I went, everyone was extremely supportive and positive.
Yeah. I mean, that definitely helps, right? Like who wants to, I would rather hang out in that environment than something that's less than that. But you know, one of the main reasons why it started to take off was the baby boomers, right? Because they all were retiring,
right?
They played tennis, or but they were getting older, and so pickleball kind of was already growing in that community, So we can't forget that was really kind of
a big element.
Yeah,
the retirees
spearheading it all was that.
And the courts are smaller, right? It's like half of a tennis court. Is that right?
So yeah, the overall area with the inbounds and the out of bounds, that overall area is exactly 1/4 the size of a full tennis court.
Wow. So the one thing that I noticed is I didn't have to run a whole lot, whereas in tennis it feels like you're like nonstop running from one side to the other. But pickleball, it felt like, okay, I could take 4 steps in any direction but kind of be okay. There were times when I felt like I had to maybe run a little bit more, but
Yeah.
it definitely didn't feel like tennis. It felt more manageable.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny because when I coach people, I actually try to get them to not move like at all.
Interesting.
Like we go from like 0 steps, don't step. Actually, don't move. And then like, okay, if you are going to move, take 1 step. And so it's kind of funny because it's like I'm telling people not to move.
Right.
You know what I mean? But the way the game works and the way that I coach, we kind of start with that. There is definitely movement, right? Like, if you know anything about it, you generally are always trying to get up to the kitchen line. So you got to try to jog forward or run forward to get up there. But once you get up to the kitchen line, it's, you can basically cover your half of the court with 1 step because of how small it is.
Something that I think is so amusing is that it has this reputation as being an old person's sport, yet it's so fast. And I mean, it's major cardio. And so I guess it appeals to both groups.
It's getting faster too.
Really?
I mean, depending on, who you're playing.
Who's playing? Yeah.
Gotcha.
But like the pros, it gets faster and faster. The pros game, it's still like evolving. Everything's kind of like evolving, and it kind of trickles down from them because they're still figuring out like new shots and ways to hit the ball and stuff like that. And then everybody's getting more athletic, right? Because all those pros are playing more, so they're getting in better shape. They're getting faster. More. It's getting more global. So people are training and they're trying to, so it's getting...
The bar goes higher.
Yeah, the bar goes higher. So like if you watched like pro pickleball from like 2016, when it kind of started to make its way on the scene versus like now, you'd be like, this is like, I could play pro in 2016,
right?
But now you'd be like, nah, I'm good. Yeah.
That's really interesting. I read some fun, lesser-known facts this morning. One that so 400,000 people are playing around the world. Oh my God! And that the ball itself is moving only about 1/3 the speed of a tennis ball. Right. But to me, pickleball is faster than tennis because you're much closer to your opponent physically.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely. That's kind of it's kind of like the intriguing parts of it, right? You go out, you hit some balls, you're like, yeah, this is fun. Like I can handle this.
Right.
And then like you play with some people that are like,
know what they're
aggressive, doing. And then you're like, whoa, like what happened there? Like, whoa, like I wasn't ready for that shot. That was way too fast. Yeah. So yeah, you have to have really good reaction time, hand speed, good hand-eye coordination, because eventually it just gets so fast, and if you can't react, you just can't play with those people. Yeah,
there is a lot of strategy to it, and
yeah, when you play tennis, a lot of times when you teach people how to volley, it's away from their body, because most likely the ball isn't going to come right at their body; it's going to be to the side. So you train them to hit on the side of their body with hitting volleys first. But in pickleball, your body is a lot bigger because the court's a lot smaller. Yeah, so like you're in the way of the ball a lot. So like if you can't react, you're just gonna get like hit, and hopefully you don't get hit in the face, But, like, make sure you wear some
protective eye gear.
Yeah, because that's just the way it is, and that's why people like it because they can hit more balls and they don't have to run. But at the same time, you're like, what is this? Like, how do I hit this shot? It's coming like at my face, point blank range,
Well, and it kind of has a lot of aspects of ping pong where, the way the paddle is and stuff, and the ball, you can, there's a lot of smashing, right as it's coming to you, and you're just outside the kitchen, you're trying to like smash it over the net, and
yeah, if you are like playing and you're all up at the kitchen line and you're close, which is what you're trying to do, that's fine. If somebody accidentally pops the ball up, they're gonna smash it at you.
Right.
Like you're only 14 feet away, so it's not that far. And then you have to like figure out what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to get the ball back, but that's why people like to play, because they like to smash the ball. So at the same time, like if you're smashing, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect husband-wife sport.
Yeah. 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 Which side is who, who's on which
Yeah,
side?
who are
right?
you playing against?
Yeah.
You said it like it kind of started with the boomers.
Yeah.
But are you seeing at Paragon and kind of throughout tournaments or wherever you're playing, are you seeing a lot of younger players now?
Yeah,
Kind of coming into the game?
Well, yeah. I mean, now there's like a collegiate series and stuff like that a company by the name of Duper is trying to get going.
Interesting.
It hasn't really got into high school as much yet, but actually the younger kids that are not in high school, there's a lot of younger kids getting into it. So I do teach younger kids, and at first I was like, is this going to be fun for them? Because it's mainly adults. And honestly, kids love it just as much as adults do. So, I do have a junior program aspect.
Just picking up, the paddle and the ball and kind of just trying to get it over the net and kind of learning the characteristics of, how this thing behaves and, how hard I have to hit it or not. Sometimes you don't have to hit it that hard.
Yeah.
Once I got that sort of somewhat understandable, then it was like the scoring, which does anyone understand how to score this game? It's like, who came up with the rules? It's the most confusing thing. And I'm like, is it me that I don't understand how to do this? And
it's part volleyball,
yeah,
scoring.
Yeah, it's part like, let's see how you're doing mentally today. Like,
right. I was like, I'm just having a good time. I have no idea what the score is.
My joke is like, if you don't have Alzheimer's, it's going to make you feel like you have it, after going through the scoring of it.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, it's when you teach scoring as like a group, it's such a thing. Like you have to make sure you say it in such a way that you don't confuse people. Obviously, that sounds like
Sure.
you would do it that way, but it's really easy to confuse people. So yeah. Teaching scoring was
the hardest part of the whole thing. I still don't get it.
It's an art form.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an art form, and you're going on a journey. Everyone's going on a journey. So it's like, here we go.
That's got to be a fun class.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of head scratching.
I've gotten a lot better at it over the years, but I still am like, okay. So the goal is that nobody gets confused here.
Yep.
And we're good, and then we start the journey of learning how to score.
There's some secret rules too. Can you legally hit around the net?
Yeah, you can do that. It's called around the post.
Around the post.
Yeah, it's called an ATP. And you can do that in tennis too. You
Yes.
can hit around the post.
Okay.
But they don't really call it an ATP in tennis.
Okay.
It's interesting. Some rules are the same as tennis and some are different. Yeah.
And then also there are lots of rules about what's accepted for serving. So can you touch on some of that, Drew? Because there's stuff that you'd think would be legal for serving.
Right.
Like how high you hold the racket when you serve and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, you basically you can't overhand serve.
Right.
You can't hit it like a tennis serve. It's got to be underhand. I mean, the rules are basically, if you're going to hit the ball out of the air, you have to hit the ball below your waist.
Okay.
You have to have the paddle below your hand. Mm-hmm. You have to swing in an upward motion. And while you're doing that, you have to bark like a dog. So all those things, you just have to keep in mind.
And stand behind the line.
Yes,
right.
Stand behind the line. Yep. You got to hit it over the kitchen.
Over the kitchen, that's right.
Yep. Into the correct box.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a special rule too about return serve. You can't rush the net.
Yeah, there's a 2-bounce rule. So in tennis, you serve, the ball bounces in the service box, and then you don't have to worry about
you can rush the net right after that.
Yeah, but in pickleball, you serve, it's got to bounce, and then when they return it back to the serving team, that team has to let it bounce too. So what a lot of beginners do is they serve, they rush up, they smash the ball in the kitchen, and they go, this is great. This is so easy.
Right.
But they didn't let the ball bounce the second time. So that's just that's actually just one of those things that, beginners always have to kind of keep in mind.
Yep.
Yeah. And learn.
I'm curious, do you prefer playing singles or doubles?
I play a lot of doubles. sometimes I play singles. Singles is for tennis players, it's kind of more natural because a lot of the strokes are more natural. But a lot of people are like, I mean, if you go to a park, everyone's playing doubles. Yeah. Nobody's playing singles.
I mean, I was playing singles for the longest time, and then a friend of mine, I don't know, somebody said, you got to try doubles. And I never went back to singles because doubles, well, you get more action with less like diving.
Right.
Yeah. I played a lot of singles tennis in my day, you know, but I was like, dang, this is like ridiculous. And it's so quick.
Yeah.
You have to be super quick to play singles. And then, you know, the movement's different. So like when you get to the kitchen line in singles, you know, as a tennis player, then you have to figure out like, oh, well, I can't just run up to the net on this because of the kitchen. I have to like side shuffle across here like a giant crab. Like, what is going on here? And so it's a whole different, it's almost a different game, you know, just like in tennis where singles and doubles are different. It's the same thing in pickleball.
Yeah, it seems like with doubles, after the initial kind of volley, everyone runs up to the kitchen, you know, so you've got 4 people, you know, kind of
ready to smash
to smash it, and it's just like pow, 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 pow.
Yeah.
Until someone gets like a lob or something over them, and but it's just this brutal volley.
Yeah. They call it like when that starts to happen, it's like a hands battle or a firefight. I don't like calling it that, but you know, that's what they call it.
You know, just watching on some bouts on Instagram and stuff, and seeing some of these professionals.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Like
pop.
Yeah. Oh, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's impressive for sure. Yeah, it's fun to watch.
Also, former world number 1 player. He's also a former gold medalist at this particular event. Oh.
Diving play from Richard.
The tweener, the unusual tweener, and then the diving ball.
So let me ask you about tournaments then. You both play in tournaments and help put on tournaments. How's that working?
What should we start with first? Well, you know,
There's so much going on. I haven't played in any tournaments, so I want to learn about that.
Well, if you're looking for like some of the biggest like parties in the U.S., you should just go to like a pickleball tournament because I mean they're so much fun.
Really?
Yeah, I like. If you're like, gosh, I really want to do something, you know, pickleball related, just go to a big tournament and it's just great. So anyways, yeah, I've played tournaments, like me playing. I played a lot of tournaments on the PPA tour, which is kind of like the premier professional pickleball tour. I've played from 4.0 up to the pro level. And I've played on the APP tour, which is another professional tour as well. I've played like in a couple shootout events and a couple pro events there as well. So
tournaments in this area, where's that happening, Drew?
Well, you can come on down to Willow Pass Park. You know, I'm playing a Paragon Pickleball tournament. That's in Concord. You know. Yeah, I've been fortunate to run some larger tournaments. The ones I've been doing that I do are the USAPA sanctioned tournaments. So we have referees and stuff like that, and we have some prize money. You can kind of think of it like there's like a big amateur base that plays, you know, from 3.0 to like 4.5, 5.0.
And I've heard it's multi-day.
Actually, the beauty of pickleball tournaments is that most of the time you play your event all in one day.
Okay.
So you're like, oh, you know what? I've only got my Saturday open because Sunday, you know, is with the kids and we're going to Disneyland. Well, that's just fine because you can go play on Saturday. But, you know, tennis used to be like 2 weekends or 2 days, you know, and you have to work your way through the draw. But pickleball is like, no, if you want to play an event 3 days, you know, one each day, you can do it. Or you can just play one event.
There's so many different aspects to this because there's the social aspect, there's the cardio aspect, there's the improve your reflexes aspect, and then I think something that has a reputation for making people happy. It's like the antidepressant sport.
Well, that's kind of why I was so taken with it. I was amazed how much I actually enjoyed it. You know, coming to it completely cold, knowing basically zero about it, and yet having a great time and actually doing okay out on the court. I was like, this is phenomenal. Like, I understand now. I get it, why people would love to do this.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people, they can kind of pick up the paddle. They're like, oh, it's not that heavy.
Right.
You know, it's like, okay, they pick up the ball. They're like, okay, it's a wiffle ball. It's not like intimidating stuff.
Yeah.
Physically, most people are like, you know, can hit it.
They can manage it. Yeah.
It's kind of like if you just were going to go play some ping pong, you're like, oh, you know, I can handle this, right?
You have forehand, backhand. The serve is a really simple underhand serve. It's just easy to learn. People say that about lots of sports, but in the case of pickleball, it is true.
And then you hit it a couple of times and you're like talking to your friends because, you know, you're not that far away and, you know, and you're kind of off. So confidence-wise, most people are pretty confident, which is good, you know. So then they're like, well, I can do this.
Right.
Whereas you go and you try to teach someone how to drive the ball 200 yards, they're like, I can't do this. Like, I don't know how to do this. But a lot of people, they can and right away just pick up a paddle and
and you know, the time to fun factor is pretty short.
Yeah, it's almost
like
instantaneously. Yeah.
Which is, I mean, I get it. I understand why it's so popular.
Yeah.
And it seems to be no matter where you go, they're turning malls into pickleball courts and you know, hangars and, you know, any vacant piece of land that's available these days, it seems they're turning it into a pickleball court.
Yeah. Just don't go to the tennis courts, you know, because we don't want to upset the tennis players.
Tennis players, yeah, the tennis players seem a little peeved about the popularity of pickleball, although I'm sure there's a huge crossover, right?
Unless they switch from tennis at the same place, you know, and they're kind of the same ones pushing for it. But yeah, I mean, tennis courts are usually the easiest thing to convert or kind of use as a multi-use facility. So, you know, I mean, pickleball is growing in popularity immensely, and tennis is they are still, you know, growing. Like you know, it's going like that. Tennis isn't, in my opinion, it's not dying.
Right.
It just doesn't have, you know, it's not going straight to the moon like pickleball. I mean, pickleball is just going like, you know, you're like, oh my God, like, I'm going to slow down here, and it's just not. So
it does seem like one of those sports that everyone can do together, even at different levels and stuff, and still have fun and have a good time and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Are there night lights, by the way, at Lafayette Community Center?
There are, yeah.
So it's like you could just be playing around the clock.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah, I mean, I have space in my backyard. I could put a court, but there's like 4 houses that are like would be affected by the noise.
They may not appreciate it.
Yeah, so I'm like, dang, I really want to do it, but I'm like, I don't think I should, you know, because I'd be out there all day. But like, you know, let's say you have like a basketball court that's big enough,
right?
You know, it's on a concrete slab. You can convert that. During the pandemic, people were just putting courts everywhere, like in their driveways and stuff like that, in the street, and just playing. So
it seems to be there are clubs, not country clubs, but pickleball clubs that are in each town. You know, I looked at my town, and there is a San Jose Pickleball Association. It does seem like they've taken over some courts, or at least have times where you can go and play.
Yeah.
For people who want to get involved, you know, locally in their town or whatever, how do you recommend they get started? Should they look for kind of a local association or a club, or what would you recommend?
Like we were talking about earlier, you know, a lot of them are just at a public facility.
Exactly.
So some of those places have like drop-in times. You can go out there, but really you want to start kind of like getting, you know, communicated to. So a lot of these places have like WhatsApp groups. Like, we have a WhatsApp group for the club that I have in Orinda, which is free. you just get on the WhatsApp and then you communicate with people to go out and play. In Orinda, Lafayette, they have their WhatsApp group. They have multiple groups. A lot of times, I guess a shout out to WhatsApp here, but that's a big thing. Is just getting on those, and usually you can just get on there. It's free.
So it's just like, hey, anyone up for a game kind of thing? And
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And he's listed, of course, in community center course schedules, right? That's printed. And so you can find Drew right there.
Oh, like the rec center kind of courses.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
And not only, like I was saying, not only just in Orinda, but also in Lafayette and Concord. So you just, Paragon Pickleball shows up on all, in different levels too, right? So Drew's teaching from beginner to advanced.
Yeah, there's so many different types of clubs, really, which is interesting. Some, yeah, like I said, mine's free, but there's, you could join the Bay Club, right? And they have pickleball courts, so you could join that club, or you could join if you're in Sacramento, you could join like the Citrus Heights Club, which charges maybe I don't know what it is, but maybe about $100 a year to join that club. So you just kind of start poking around, don't give up if you don't feel like, I'm not sure what's going on here. You'll probably find your way. You'll find where you
find your people.
Yeah, you'll find your peeps. You'll find your thousands of new best friends.
Excellent.
They're just waiting for you.
How about injuries? How about an injury story?
The worst thing that could happen is usually if somebody has a heart attack, right?
Oh.
And dies.
Okay.
On a pickleball court. Okay. That's obviously the worst.
Yeah.
And it does happen sometimes. So, that's obviously terrible. The second thing is getting hit in the eye. That's my usually the main thing I'm worried about.
Yeah, I always see you with wraparound sunglasses.
I usually wear sunglasses, yeah. And then if we're kind of, depending on who's there, I usually look around to see who's wearing sunglasses. Because if we've got beginners and there's some aggro dude smashing balls, if somebody gets hit in the eye, they could lose their eye. Yeah. So goggles, protective eyewear for sure.
Okay.
Smart.
You can just wear your sunglasses, it's fine. But you're most likely going to get hit by the ball eventually. So
I see.
If you're not really used to playing and you get hit in the face or the eye, that's the worst thing. Other than that, people wear the tennis elbow, wraps. I don't know exactly what they're called, but I've seen those my whole life. From tennis and stuff like that. People wear that. People wear knee sleeves, compression pants and stuff like that. A little more performance gear. Yeah.
Well, I think generally, as you said, as the first one, heart attacks, it is a sport, so you should be in kind of good general condition to play it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but if you're like, wow, I haven't done anything for a while, and then you're like, I'm hooked on this sport, and now I'm playing 3 hours a day, right? That's a big jump. Yeah. And you're having a great time, and then usually within the first 6 months, that's in my opinion something could happen. So not to get too doom and gloom.
No, but I think it should encourage people to get out there and do some walking and maybe try and drop a couple pounds and just kind of do a little bit of cardio and just to get into a better kind of general condition.
Yeah.
Before you start getting out on the court or really becoming more aggressive about it.
Yeah. It's what does it feel like for you to jog from the back of the court to the net?
Yeah.
What's that like?
It's an interesting point because Lafayette Community Center, which is casual, you do not see heavy people out there. I mean, I don't remember seeing many heavy people out there.
Yeah. A lot of people have lost weight.
I bet they have. Yeah. I mean, you're on a hamster wheel out there.
Yeah.
And
they're happy about that.
Yeah.
They're like, I lost 20 pounds. I'm like, dang, man, I can tell.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sweating after 5 minutes. I'm sweating.
Yeah.
Well, and you're going to, it gives you a good encouragement to do it is because you'll be a little lighter on your feet and
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want to lose weight usually, right? So, and I think people, like, again, during the pandemic, they were just sitting around. We're all going in and out, you know.
A lot of DoorDash.
We couldn't go in there, and then pickleball was just a great way to actually get outside and do something active. So
Nice.
yeah.
Well, I had a great time playing it. I'm looking forward to doing it some more in my community. Alvin, I know you play, and you know, I think it's a, you know, you seem to have a great time with it as well.
I love it. It's time to sign up for another Drew class.
Yeah.
Exactly. Drew, thank you so much. I mean, I appreciate, you know, you kind of bringing pickleball to more people, and we'll certainly put your information out there so, you know, everyone can learn a little bit more about Paragon and what you're doing.
Cool.
But yeah, get out there and pickleball, people. It's a good time.
Really good, Drew.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening to the Midlife Mischief Club podcast. Please be sure to subscribe in your favorite podcast app so you don't miss an episode. You can find show notes, links to our socials, and see what else is cooking on our website at midlifemischiefclub.com.